The forest was not like the one Mira knew during the day. As the sun dipped below the horizon, everything changed. The familiar chirping of birds was replaced by a deep, humming silence that seemed to vibrate in the cool night air. A brilliant full moon hung in the inky black sky, its silvery light filtering through the thick canopy of leaves above. It cast long, dancing shadows on the forest floor, making the familiar shapes of trees look like tall, slumbering giants. Mira clutched the worn fabric of her jacket, her heart thumping a little faster than usual. She knew she should not be out here alone, but something had called to her, a pull she could not explain or ignore. Mira took a careful step onto a path she had never noticed before. It was not a path made of dirt or gravel, but of soft, springy moss that seemed to glow with a faint, otherworldly light. Her small boots made no sound as she walked, adding to the strange quiet of the woods. She looked around, her eyes wide with a mixture of fear and wonder. The air smelled of damp earth, sweet, night-blooming flowers, and something else, something ancient and magical, like old books and forgotten spells. Every rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze made her jump, her head snapping towards the sound, expecting to see something move in the deep darkness between the trees. She continued walking, placing one foot cautiously in front of the other. The glowing moss beneath her feet seemed to pulse with a soft, steady rhythm, like a slow heartbeat. The shadows around her twisted and writhed, playing tricks on her eyes. One moment, a shadow looked like a crouching wolf. The next, it was just a strangely shaped bush. Mira told herself it was only her imagination, but the feeling of being watched was impossible to shake. She felt a prickle on the back of her neck, a sensation that she was not truly alone on this moonlit path, even though she could not see anyone else. The forest was alive in a way she had never experienced. It was not just the strange sounds or the shifting shadows, it was a feeling deep in her bones. The very air seemed to thrum with a hidden energy, a secret life that only revealed itself after dark. Mira breathed in deeply, the cool air filling her lungs and calming her racing thoughts just a little. Her initial fear was slowly being replaced by an overwhelming sense of curiosity. What secrets did this forest hold? Why did it feel so different tonight? She knew she had to keep going, to follow this strange path and discover where it was leading her. As Mira ventured deeper into the woods, the whispers began. They were faint at first, like the sighing of the wind through the high branches, but they grew clearer with every step she took. The sounds were not words she could understand, but they seemed to swirl around her, brushing against her ears like soft cobwebs. They spoke of ancient times and forgotten magic, of secrets hidden beneath the roots of the oldest trees. The whispers were both spooky and beautiful, and they made Mira feel as though the forest itself was trying to speak directly to her, sharing its deepest thoughts with her alone. Her attention was then drawn to the trees themselves. They were not ordinary trees. Carved into the bark of the ancient oaks and tall pines were strange, glowing symbols. They pulsed with a soft, golden light, looking like stars that had been captured and etched into the wood. Mira paused, her fear momentarily forgotten, and reached out a tentative hand. As her fingertips gently brushed against one of the glowing symbols, it flared brightly for a moment. She felt a warm tingle spread up her arm, a pleasant and comforting sensation that made her feel connected to the forest in a profound way. The whispers grew louder as she touched more of the symbols. They seemed to react to her presence, their voices rising and falling in a mysterious, musical chorus. At the same time, the shadows at the edge of her vision seemed to become more active. They darted and danced just beyond the reach of the moonlight, always disappearing whenever she turned her head to get a better look. Mira's heart began to beat faster again. Was it just the wind? Or were there unseen creatures watching her from the darkness, their forms hidden within the moving shapes? The uncertainty was unsettling, yet it also fueled her determination. Mira's mind was a battlefield between two powerful feelings. A part of her was terrified and wanted to turn back, to run home to the safety of her warm bed. The forest at night was full of unknowns, and the strange whispers and moving shadows sent shivers down her spine. But another, stronger part of her was filled with an insatiable curiosity. She had never felt so alive, so close to a real adventure. The glowing symbols and the magical air were pulling her forward, promising a discovery she could not bear to miss. She had to know what lay at the end of this path. Just as Mira's fear began to bubble up again, something new appeared before her. Hovering just above the mossy path was a small, floating orb of brilliant blue light. It was no bigger than her thumb, yet it shone with an intensity that cut through the surrounding darkness. It bobbed gently in the air, as if waiting for her. As she watched, another blue orb appeared a few feet ahead of the first, and then another and another. A trail of glowing blue lights was forming right before her eyes, creating a new path that led even deeper into the heart of the enchanted woods. Mira hesitated for only a second. The blue lights felt different from the eerie whispers and the darting shadows. They felt friendly, almost like a guide sent to help her. Taking a steadying breath, she decided to trust them. She began to follow the trail, her steps now more confident. The orbs of light floated silently, leading her away from the main path of glowing moss and into a part of the forest that was darker and older. The trees here were enormous, their branches so thick they almost completely blocked out the moonlight, making the blue lights her only guide. As she followed the lights, the forest grew quieter. The constant whispers that had followed her seemed to fade away, replaced by an even deeper, more profound silence. Even the rustling of leaves and the gentle hum of the night seemed to have vanished. All Mira could hear was the soft padding of her own footsteps and the quick, rhythmic beat of her own heart. The silence was more unnerving than the whispers had been. It felt heavy and expectant, as if the entire forest was holding its breath, waiting for her to arrive at her destination. The trail of blue lights guided her onward through the quiet darkness. They led her around massive, gnarled roots that snaked across the ground and under low-hanging branches thick with ivy. The air grew cooler still, carrying a faint scent of stone and rain. Mira felt a strange sense of familiarity wash over her, a feeling that she had walked this path before. It was like remembering a half-forgotten dream, the details just out of reach, but the feeling of it clear as day. She knew she was getting close to something important, something the forest had been waiting to show her. The trail of blue lights finally ended, bringing Mira into a large, circular clearing. The moon broke through the canopy here, bathing the entire area in its ethereal silver glow. In the center of the clearing stood a circle of towering, ancient stones covered in moss and ivy. They were massive and grey, each one as tall as 3 men. They leaned slightly, weathered by centuries of wind and rain, and seemed to hum with a quiet, powerful energy. As soon as Mira saw them, her breath caught in her throat. She recognized this place. It was the stone circle from a dream she had forgotten until this very moment. A sudden, complete silence fell over the clearing. The last of the blue lights flickered and went out, plunging the edges of the clearing into deep shadow. The air became perfectly still, and not even a single leaf stirred. It was a silence so absolute that Mira could hear the blood rushing in her ears. She stood frozen at the edge of the circle, her gaze fixed on the colossal stones, feeling incredibly small and vulnerable. The feeling of being watched returned, stronger and more intense than ever before. She was certain she was not alone. From the deep shadow between two of the largest stones, a figure emerged. It moved with a silent, graceful liquidness, stepping into the moonlight. The figure was tall and cloaked, its form obscured by heavy, dark robes. Mira could not make out a face, but she could see 2 points of light shining from beneath the hood. They were eyes, and they glowed with a soft, steady luminescence, just like the symbols on the trees. They were not scary or threatening. Instead, they seemed ancient, wise, and filled with a calm understanding that reached across the clearing. The figure stopped just a few feet away from her. It raised a hand, not in a threatening way, but as a gentle greeting. When it spoke, its voice was not loud, but it echoed in the silent clearing as if coming from every direction at once. The voice was calm, melodic, and held a timeless quality, like the whispers she had heard earlier, but now perfectly clear. "Do not be afraid." The voice resonated through the air, seeming to vibrate within Mira's very bones. It paused, its glowing eyes fixed on her. "You have returned at last.